All right. As always, shout out to Patreon supporters. Win or lose, right? You guys still here, and all you guys in the comment section too, not just Patreon supporters, but everybody, but especially Patreon supporters. I appreciate you guys. This is a tough one. Not even gonna lie about it. I am. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't sick to my stomach right now. Hang on just a second. All right. Yeah. 3, 2, 1. Yo. Ooh, it's hard to do. Hard to do on this one. This is a tough one. I'm not gonna lie. This is probably the most disappointing post-game show I've ever done. Period. I'm gonna say I'm shocked. I really. I mean, a part of me wants to just go off on an absolute rant and just I don't know. There's no doubt. There's zero doubt that this year was, for me, the kind of year that you had, undefeated in series play all year long, with the toughest strength of schedule, the highest RPI, going to Texas, sweeping the Big 12, beating Tennessee at their place, beating South Carolina, and I get it, South Carolina is not exactly South Carolina, but still not the usual South Carolina, beating LSU, all those wins on the road, all the rubber match wins this year, obviously undefeated in rubber matches. The home runs, the records broken. It was, for me, it was national championship game or bust. And I know that the one seed to win it all is hard to do. I think only 14 one seeds have ever even made it to Omaha. But this team, I think, and you've heard people say it, this is one of the best regular season baseball teams in college baseball that you've seen in a while. And to drop your own regional, I get it, supers, right? I get it. Still, NC State started this year off like what, 1-9, 1-8? Didn't play near the strength of schedule Arkansas did. Didn't face near as good of hitters and pitching bullpens and play near as good as elite defensive teams as SEC has. But it just goes to show you there's two different seasons. There's regular season college baseball, and then there's postseason college baseball. Arkansas was not the best postseason baseball team. They just weren't. It's hard to swallow. It's hard to say. It pisses you off. I'm not mad. I'm confused. Like, how the hell? And by the way, this is not an elite bullpen you played against. They're a great hitting club. There's no doubt. NC State, I don't want to take anything away from what they're able to do at the plate, from how good they've been hitting the ball this year. I mean, they were the best hitting team in the ACC, and you can argue the ACC was probably the second best conference in college baseball. Can't take anything away from them. You can't, their pitching, they were great. Their lefties were solid. But Arkansas, and I said yesterday, I don't know that you're here without, or I wasn't completely buying into the argument that without Kops you wouldn't make it here. That's out the window. This team is not playing to get into the College World Series without Kevin Kops. Again, this is not a bullpen that struck the fear or put the fear of God in anyone in the ACC. And yet, yeah, they've got a couple of studs. There's no doubt. They've got a couple of studs, but they pitched. Look what Arkansas did to their ace. Game 1. They beat the shit out of that kid. Let's just call it like it is. I mean, I get it. Their middle relief was kind of their not the norm middle relief. It's a tough one to swallow. And I know, look, on the radio, they're going to be grounded. They're going to be reasonable. They're going to say, well, hats off. And great. They're more civil than I am. I what I saw these last 2 games was just piss poor at bats, piss poor. And I would even argue, by the way, I'm drinking I told you guys yesterday I'm going to try a new beverage. This is it Fayetteville? I thought this was Core Brewing. Hang on a second. It's called River Water. It's a river water lager. Okay, it says Fayetteville. This is Ozark Beer Company, isn't it? Yeah, Ozark Beer Company. Canned by Ozark Beer Company. Out of I guess the brewery's in Rogers, Arkansas. After years of being inspired, good Lord, I don't have my glasses. After years of being inspired by the Ozark Mountains, we at Fayetteville wanted to toast with our friends at Ozark Beer Company our collaboration beer, River Water, so on and so forth. I'm not going to read the rest of the can. Let's give it a try. It's been in my fridge now for 2 days. Never had it. Let's give it a try. You guys ready for this? Cleanse the palate. Get that nasty taste of that bullshit game we just watched out of my mouth here. That's not bad. I mean, it's definitely river. I mean, it's what you take with you when you're out on the Buffalo. That's not bad. Not bad at all. Cheers, Fayetteville and Ozark Beer Company. Cheers. Get that nasty taste out of my mouth, what we just witnessed. It's tough. I want to be classy. John Hawes with the super chat. Hey, man, I appreciate that. These guys had a hell of a season. Can't take a damn thing from them. No, you can't take anything away from what they accomplished this year. Absolutely not. And that was going to be the next thing I was going to get into. I don't understand what the hell happened at the plate tonight. I don't get it. You know, the TV guys were talking about the sun and how it changes the color of the ball, and I know that is something that's valid. I didn't play baseball beyond like 5th grade, so I couldn't tell you from experience, but I'm sure that is a valid thing to talk about, right? But it's not like NC State wasn't dealing with that too. The strike zone, I do think, and I talked about this in our Discord. I was also texting a couple of friends of mine who said I can't understand why in the first several innings there were 2 different pitch zones, and they're right. Arkansas was not getting the low and inside pitches. Cops was being forced to pitch perfect, right over the middle of the plate. Meanwhile, NC State was being given those. They were calling those strikes for NC State. Not every pitch, but a lot of them in low and inside. Now, that zone gradually changed a little bit, but that's not why you lost. You lost simply because your bats were just shit today. They were shit yesterday for the most part. They're a better team. I think Arkansas is a better team than what we saw today and what they saw yesterday. NC State just they took down the Giant. Let's just call it what it is. This is a huge win for their program. I don't know in terms of program history where this sets, but it's got to be up there. I will not give 2 shits about college baseball from this point on, like for the rest of the season. I'm talking about obviously next year. I'm all ready for it. I'm already ready for next season. To be honest, I'm excited to see what they do next year. Who knows? Depending on who's coming back. But the rest of this season, I don't really care. I'm done. I'm done. I don't care. Call me a sore loser. I don't give a damn. Arkansas lost to a team they should have beaten. They should have put this thing away when they had the opportunity late last night, and they were unable to do it. It's frustrating. It really is. We deserve to lose. Kudos to them. Well, I mean, when you look at what they did what they did all regular season, your regular season SEC champs, you're clearly the best team in college baseball throughout the regular season. You win the SEC regular season championship, then you win the tournament championship only to fall in your supers, and it's just Golly, that is the most frustrating part of all this. It'd probably be different, right? If Arkansas was floating around or outside the top 10 all year, right? And this was at somebody else's super, right? If this was at someone else, if someone else was hosting, damn it, oh darn, we didn't make it to Omaha. Yeah, it's disappointing. This is like an extra layer of disappointment. Castle Lord, I'm so depressed right now. Can't believe what happened. It's I don't know. I do have notes. I've got stuff typed up. I had numbers and stats pulled up, but it's so disappointing, man. Dave Van Horn is an awesome coach. He is. He's an awesome coach. You cannot take away what he has done for the University of Arkansas. And when you look back on what Cops did, this dude pitched his rear end off. Was it perfect? He's not a starter for any of you super casuals out there who have they're not really sure about what just happened. He's not a normal starter. He's never started in his college career. I don't know if he has some one random midweek start. I don't think he does. I'm pretty sure that was his first start ever in a Razorback uniform. Sometimes there's a reason why kids are pitchers, or closing pitchers, but tonight it wasn't on him. I thought he was great. I really do. All things considered, came in, no rest, pitched somewhere between, I thought it was 30 pitches last night. I think it was closer to the low 20s. But no rest, came in, and I think he did what you wanted him to do for the most part. I think 85% of this game, you were at least happy with what you got out of his performance tonight. You saw him was that Dave Van Horn? He was holding in the dugout that he was hugging. He's going to wear this one. And I feel horrible for Cops. This kid, there is not enough to be said about Cops and what he did for this program this year. There's just not enough. There's not enough words. I could sit here and go on for an hour about and maybe I will. Hell, I don't know. What he did this year was unbelievable. He's still, in my opinion, the equivalent. What he did was equivalent to Darren McFadden's Heisman campaign, right? And they didn't. How far did that team go? Yeah, they won a lot of games, but they weren't in the BCS. They didn't play in a BCS game that year, right? They went 10-2. Ended up going 10-3, if I remember right. Was that the year you lost to Wisconsin in the bowl game? I can't remember. Of course, he had two Heisman campaigns, but you know what I mean. The one that I feel like he really should have won that first run. I felt like it was just as deserving as the second Heisman run. But this year was the equivalent to what Darren McFadden accomplished for football. I don't know if this hurt his Golden Spikes. I don't think it should. What Dave Van Horn did by starting him was put that on the line, and he believed in him. And I think 90% of Razorback fans, probably thought that was the right move to start him. I think it was, given the performance, given the overall performance. I think it was the right move to start him. It also shows you he didn't have a lot of confidence in the rest of the bullpen. And I think that's something that gets better. I think they're going to be, again, depending on who transfers, who goes pro, who does this or that. I think their bullpen is in really good shape. Don't ask me to talk about recruiting and all that, because that's an area I'm not familiar with at all with Arkansas baseball. I know they've got some kids on the up and up, right? And depending on what happens in with the draft and everything, they're in pretty good shape as far as I know. And the rest of this bullpen, you look at the freshmen, you look at the lefties, I think that are coming back. Arkansas's in good shape. But I'm telling you, that's not a good sign. And I think, we talked about this not that long ago. You cannot continuously depend on Cops to bail you out. If he's the only thing out of the bullpen you have any confidence in, you're not going to Omaha. And look at what happened. Now, it's a little bit different scenario. It's a little bit different scenario tonight because of this series and kind of how it unfolded. Hate to say it, but Dave Van Horn made some bad decisions this series and cost us Omaha. Misused Cops in almost every way possible. I don't know that I agree with that, Christian, because, again, is it on him or is it on the inconsistency of the rest of this bullpen? I mean, you had a guy last night give up 3 home runs. Now, you can argue he should have been pulled earlier, and I would argue, or I would agree, that after that second homer, he definitely should have been pulled after that second homer. I think that's a good argument to make there, but it tells you he didn't have a lot of confidence in the rest of this bullpen. Now, throughout the SEC tournament and game 1 of this regional, and then considering how well I thought they pitched pretty well against Nebraska, it's tough to say what the right move was tonight, but it's hard to look back on what Kopp's accomplished tonight and say it was a mistake that he shouldn't have pitched. I don't know. I mean, you can disagree all you want. That's what I think. That's what I believe. I understand wanting to set the tone, especially with your best arm, but I wouldn't have started Kopp's. I'm just an armchair coach. We all are. Everyone in here is an armchair coach, including me. But I feel he's not, quote unquote, built for complete games. Again, armchair coach here. And I would argue that what he did tonight, his overall performance, you look at how this kid threw 117, 118 pitches tonight. Look back at what he did. It's hard for me to say that it was the wrong move to start him. Now, did you leave him in beyond 100 pitches? I was really surprised he kept bringing him in, especially when you're at that 100 count for a guy that just pitched 20-plus pitches the day before on no nights, on no rest, and for him to then turn around and pitch 100 and whatever it was, 117 pitches. I don't know, man. He knows his pitcher better than I do. He knows his bullpen better than I do, but I don't know. Kopp's pitched a hell of a game, held him to 3 runs. Yeah, but bats got cold. Okay, tonight was definitely not on Kopp's. Wasn't on anybody else except the guys at the plate. Period. Their bats were awful. They were horrible at the plate tonight. I don't know why. I couldn't tell you. I don't know. People in my DMs, what the hell happened at the plate these last 2 games? Why did it take us so late last night to get the bats going? What happened tonight? Especially against an NC State bullpen that's not – they don't strike the fear of God in anybody. They've got a couple of studs, but they don't strike the fear in most of the ACC. They won because, well, they averaged 10 runs a game, which is insane. I mean, that was good for top 15 in the country in a Power 5 conference. That's pretty damn impressive. I don't know about their non-conference games. I don't know who they played non-conference, but I don't know. I really don't know. Wiggins was worth a chance also, I think. Great season. Kopp's is a legend. I agree. Brutal way to go out. Bullpen and hitting was 2 things this season I was worried about, especially getting deep into the regionals. For me, it was starting pitching. Guys, anyone who's been here, who's been to those shows that we did a little while back, and something I mentioned several months ago, I thought it was a rebuilding year before the season because of the question marks with your starting pitching. You didn't really have anybody outside of Wicklander, and really Wick wasn't a starter at the beginning of the year, by the way. He was actually middle relief, if a middle relief or closer, I can't remember. But when you don't have any starting pitching that can set the tone for the rest of the series or the rest of the game, so on and so forth, that's a problem. That is a big problem, and I think it came back to bite them in the ass tonight. I think it finally caught up to them. They've been able to get around it all year because of pretty decent middle relief, right? Pretty decent pitching, elite fielding, and home runs and getting on base. That's how they were able to stave off the problems that they had with starting pitching. They had nobody you could rely on solidly, consistently, every single series for more than 4 innings at a night. They had nobody that could go consistently 4 innings every start. Nobody. Wick might be the closest. I'm curious what his average was. He might be at 4, but that is it. That's one game, right? It finally bit them in the ass. It finally got them. I wonder if this was the most accomplished, overachieving college baseball team in history. Accomplished a lot, just not what we wanted. That's a good question. I'm not really sure. Starting pitching all year is a great point. No true statement. starting pitchers all season. That plus freakishly cold bats. Woo pig. Yep. I agree. I am Prue. Feel free to tap the subscribe button if you guys haven't already. If you're new here, I do appreciate all the new subscribers. We've had a lot come along the way the last several videos. I really wanted to do more of these. I had fun with these post-game baseball shows. Really had a lot of fun with them. This is a tough one. Tonight is, I don't know, when you compare it to the infamous Bermuda Triangle foul ball that nobody seemed to want to catch, that should have been the final out to win the national. That was probably the toughest. That's probably the toughest. That probably still trumps tonight. I wasn't doing post-game baseball then. I can't imagine what that would have felt like doing a post-game after that. But this one, since I've been doing post-game shows, this was just brutal. I don't know. And yesterday, pulling Locke was a mistake. I do agree with that. I agree entirely with that. I thought Locke being pulled early like that was – I just didn't agree with it. Look, I mean, Dave Van Horn is still the GOAT, right? I mean, this guy still – if he were to retire tomorrow, that would be a huge loss. And don't get me wrong, Arkansas baseball has the influence to probably go out and get a pretty damn good to get a pretty damn good replacement. But Dave Van Horn would be incredibly difficult to replace. He's still the GOAT. He's still the best coach on campus right now. I mean, I know Eric Musselman's really, done really well for himself, but he's had one great year. Let's see where he's at in a few years looking back. But Dave Van Horn, not that he's not a great coach. You guys know I love me some Muss-Bus. Kudos to Cops. Yeah, I agree 110%. Tony Brown, hey, it's been a while since I've been here. This one hurts. I don't know if you already covered it, but do you think not pulling Cops earlier was a bad decision? I think anytime you leave a starting pitcher out there for that many innings and that many pitches, and then he gives up the homer, it's real easy to say, well, I mean, yeah, it was a bad call, right, to leave him out there that long. Again, it just goes to show you he didn't have much confidence in the rest of his bullpen. Greatest of all time, my ass. Tell me someone else on campus. Tell me another coach on campus that has done what he has done. There's not many baseball coaches that have accomplished what he has that still coach. There's a few. But in the terms of Arkansas fans, he is the greatest baseball coach they've ever had. Don't get me wrong, Norm DeBryant built this program from the ground up. He had to ask Frank Broyles for a lot of funds, a lot of help to finally get them further down the road on Razorback Road and build their own stadium. There's no doubt Norm DeBryant, what he did for baseball. But Dave Van Horn is arguably one of the greatest head coaches you've ever had on campus. And to say otherwise, I think is crazy. I mean, I get some of you are mad, but I think some of you are letting it go to your head. Christian, I think you're letting it go to your head, my man. Good luck finding someone to replace Dave Van Horn. Hogs will never have another Cops. I'm a 38-year-old man. Why do you got to say it like that, Jeremy? I'm a 38-year-old man. I'm 37. When you say it like that, it makes us sound old, Jeremy. Come on, man. Will do better, I think. Well, it's hard to compare the two sports, but Omaha is the equivalent of the Final Four. I think we established that a long time ago. It's the college baseball equivalent of the Final Four in college basketball. And how many times has Dave Van Horn got you there? He's played for a national championship, and he's got you there a whole lot. He managed to take Nebraska, and then just a couple of years later, Arkansas to the College World Series. That's not easy to do. That is incredibly difficult to do, and he's done it. I'm not mad. I feel like we would have lost to Stanford had we reached Omaha. I don't know. I don't know if they couldn't get out of this slump. Franklin, God. Franklin's numbers are so bad. His slump was so bad, there's no excuse for it. I mean, oh my God. Omaha is not the Elite Eight, Christian. It is not the Elite Eight. It's the equivalent of the Final Four. Don't look at the amount of teams. I'm talking about the equivalent to the sport. You're looking at the amount of teams. Franklin and Slavin's slump was bad. It was real bad. Slavin's is kind of understandable. Franklin maybe slightly understandable, but I can't figure out why that guy was so off. I mean, he was he hasn't been himself, I think, since maybe the SEC tournament. I don't know. That's fine. You could disagree all you want. I mean, Omaha's the last step to the national championship. What's the difference? The Final Four is to play for the national title, right? What is Omaha to do? To play for the national title. The best 8 teams, and tell me how many Division I teams are there in college baseball? How many are there in basketball? Somewhat similar. A lot of teams. Out of that amount of teams, to narrow it down to 4 or 8 teams to play for the national title, my man, that is the equivalent. Man, I wish I lived and died with the Arkansas track and field team. That might be the best take I've seen here all week. Oh, my God. We're the Chicago Cubs of intercollegiate athletics. Oh, my God. I'll swing to that one. The Cubs have won World Series, though. It's kind of hard. Like, who is your Major League Baseball equivalent? I don't know. If Tennessee played Arkansas today, Tennessee would have killed them. Well, different matchups, Josh. You were holding up the L earlier. I don't know what for, but that's I don't know about that take. Different teams, different matchups, different bullpens, different arms. It's the final stage in both. How are you not getting exactly? It's the final step to the national title. It is the equivalent. How do you beat a team 21-2 and lose the 2? I don't know. That's a good question. I'm kind of surprised we don't have that Longhorn in here trolling us right now. I was kind of expecting him. Late to the show, cooking dinner. Oh, thank you, Kelly Murray. I don't think pitching was the pitching call was the wrong one. The 3 wasn't the problem. The 2 was. Yeah. Yeah, you got to give their pitching credit, and I do agree with that. They had I thought their pitching. I mean, it was just what the doctor ordered for NC State to pitch that well. I mean, it really was. Looking at my notes here, Franklin had missed at 8 of his last 10 at-bats. I think it was actually worse than that. Now, that was coming into tonight. His slumping in the regionals has been a bit of a canker sore in these type of tight games. Cops looked a little shaky, and again, I'm typing this out as the game was going on. Looked a little shaky from the get-go. But he got more and more comfortable as the game went on. I had deleted he's more comfortable coming out of the bullpen, but as the game kept going on, he did a lot better. Against an offensively aggressive team like NC State, when someone as important like Cops is to this bullpen is struggling on the mound, you have to find ways to get on base and start racking up the RBIs early. Arkansas failed to do that in game 2 and 3, and it's why the Razorbacks lost this series. It's why they're at home. That's why they're going to watch the rest of this World Series from home, or the World Series from home. Hogs continue the habit of not getting guys on base until they already have 2 outs, and that's been a trend. That's been a trend for a while. But we've seen them get bailed out, but also leave a lot of guys on base. I'm really curious if someone could find that number. How many men stranded on base this year compared to the rest of college baseball? How many players, or even just go back to the regionals? How many batters did they leave stranded? Or just postseason in general. SEC tournament, I felt like they left a lot of guys stranded. But they got into this habit where they would finally reach base when they already had 2 outs. Goodhart. When he's up to bat, if there's any runners on base, it just feels like an automatic out. He's wildly inconsistent for the most part. He was also slumping. It kind of makes you wonder why Dave Van Horn kept him in the lineup this long, but defensively, we know he's a solid player. NC State coming into this game knew they had to rely on their bullpen. They knew they had to rely on middle relief. But last night, their starting pitcher going as far as he did, it sets you up for a rough game 3. And I mentioned this last night, and you guys, some of you talked about it also in chat, not reaching in or not forcing them to go further into their bullpen last night, not racking up pitch counts, on their starting and their middle relief pitching was a problem because, I mean, now they could come out and pitch whoever the hell they wanted. You never put them on their heels at all in game 2. I mean, early on, okay, sure. But then they took a lead, and it was kind of the rest was history there, despite a late comeback by Arkansas. And it didn't force them to go deep into their pen. What if they had pitched? What if they had pitched Villeman? They brought him in tonight in the 5th. What if they had to pitch him last night? You wouldn't have had to face him tonight, right? They just couldn't do it. They were awful at the plate. Cops, to you, man. What a year, what a series for him. But unfortunately, your batters just couldn't get it going for you. They couldn't help you out at all. So they bring in Villeman in the 5th, and this guy, and I told you we can hit homers off fastballs. This cat, and they would end up getting a homer. In fact, I think all their home runs against NC State were off fastballs, but or nearly all of them. This kid, if you're going to throw a fastball to Arkansas, it needs to be mid to high 90s. That's exactly what their middle relief and their closer did. These guys were throwing high 90 fastballs. Those are difficult to hit, period. And again, if you're going to throw fastballs at this Arkansas batting order, if you're going to throw fastballs at this lineup, that's where you got to be. Because those low, even somewhat low to mid 90s, Arkansas can hit them. When you start breaking 95, 96, 97, nobody can hit those. And they were throwing those right over the middle of the plate. Their middle relief was. Their starting pitcher was not. But up against him, when he comes in the 5th, I mean, Wallace, he was making contact with the ball, and he forced him into nearly double-digit pitch count. I think he got him up to like 8 pitches, his first at-bat against this kid. Slavens was patient, but he ended up striking out. Franklin struck out, and then Moore struck out, but he was making contact. I mean, he struck out, I think, 3 of the first 5 batters he faced or something. The Wallace home run in the 7th, it was a solo home run. It was a 2-out solo home run. Wasn't it? It was a 2-out. Like I said, they only get themselves in the right position when they've got 2 outs. It seems like it was so hard to see them do this on 1 out or less. Seems like, now, don't get me wrong, the inning you had in game 1 where you racked up all those hits and homers and bringing in all those runs, yeah, I think they did that when there were no outs. But that was the only time in this series where that happened. Game 2 and game 3, it seemed like they were getting guys on base, or like what we saw with Wallace hitting that solo home run. You're doing it on 2 outs. Just great pitching. I mean, it really was by NC State and just poor batting by Arkansas. It really was the worst hitting performance by Arkansas all year, period. That Alabama series was kind of embarrassing when you dropped that first game. What was it, 16-1? But then you turned around and you won the next 2 series. This was very similar. Arkansas won that first game. I mean, blew them out. It was like NC State doesn't even belong here. And what they end up doing, they came back and won the next 2 games. David versus Goliath. And rest is kind of history. David Horn shouldn't have touched cops yesterday. I don't know about that. It's not even close to that. I'm not sure what you're talking about. Not even close to what? Bats were frozen. Yeah. Chris Stills. Oh, we got a Vol fan in here. Hey. How many times did you beat Arkansas this year, Chris? Congrats. You're going to go to your first College World Series since the Titanic sank or whatever. Good for you. We've been there much more. It was just a bad matchup, and bats just couldn't heat up. Bats were frozen, and I agree with that. Scrolling up here. If they fired Dave Van Horn, I might never watch Hog baseball. It'd be the dumbest thing in the world to do, to fire Dave Van Horn. Uh-oh, Debbie got put in timeout. I didn't see what happened. Cops was gassed, says Gary Davis. He threw a tater, and the guy fouled it hard. down the line. They should have pulled him right. He threw another tater, and the guy mashed it. This is on Dave Van Horn, says Gary Davis. After the big win, no preparation was done, and they studied us. They knew every weakness we had, says Lance. Lance, you need to check Discord. Oh, wait, you left our Discord during the basketball season, didn't you? Boise State baseball team got deleted. I don't know what you're talking about. There's always next year, guys. These kids tried their best. It happens in sports. Well, Steve and people are going to also vent, my man. That's how it works. It's okay. They can vent. It's all right. They didn't have anyone besides cops. Now, as far as the comparing of the two losses, here's why I think this one is in the same – it's on the same, I don't know, spot or in the same area, because this eliminated you. That game didn't eliminate you. That was game 2, and then you dropped the final game. It sets you up for a very disappointing game, but that game, it did set the tone for the next one. I know, because I was at Baum when they had it on the screen. All the fans were there watching it on the screen there. It was devastating to watch that ball just land in between those three guys, what they call the Bermuda Triangle. I was there, saw it, not in Omaha, obviously, but at a Baum. It was devastating. I think it lives on because people, obviously it was upsetting, but it set the tone for the next game, and fans, opposing fans love to bring that up. It's the only thing they got. When their team sucks ass and they can't make it to Omaha, or they've maybe made it to Omaha like 3 times, that's their go-to, is that infamous drop. And I think that's why it still sucks. You still had an opportunity in the next game. This game eliminated you from getting to the College World Series. I'll tell you another reason why I think this one hurts more, in my opinion. You were clearly the best team all season long. Like I said earlier, you were the SEC champs, regular season champs. Didn't lose a single series. You were undefeated, obviously, in rubber matches. You won the SEC tournament. You were heavily favored to at least make it to Omaha, only to drop it to drop this game, your final game, your rubber match, in your own regional. That's why I think this one hurts a little bit different. If it doesn't hurt more, it hurts differently. I think it's in the same, I don't know. It's under the same roof. How about that? Wait, can we go at the Vols fans just a little more? I would say leave the Vols fans in here. I'll roast them all night long. Oh, there's Lane. Lane, you can't do that 2 nights in a row. The fat guy thing is, dude, is that all you have? Living in his mama's basement. It's the same damn thing, Lane. I'm assuming you're a Texas fan, if I remember right, so it doesn't surprise me that that's all you have to go on. It's all you got, bro. That's terrible. You got to come up with something else. By the way, if this was my mama's basement, it's not bad. It's not half bad. Ty, they should not have went to the bullpen so early in game 2. Yeah, Lane got the boot. The only way Dave Van Horn is not the head coach here is if he retires. I agree 110%, which scares me because he's our best option. Lane is the worst name ever. Josh Wagner says, "Who's the shortstop for Arkansas? He seems to have a bright future." Where did Lane? There was another really good burn. Was that Lane earlier? Someone help me out with that. There was another good burn. Let's see if I can pull it up. Oh my goodness. Well, I can't find it. There's a really good burn. Did it get deleted? Kelly, did you delete that? There's a great burn earlier. So, yeah, I think the two are in the same ballpark. I really do. That loss was beyond painful, and I wasn't doing post-game shows then. I was just doing random videos when I had the time. 1 to 4 hitters killed us. I don't know what the hell happened with the top of the batting order. I don't know why you had to rely. It's weird because all year long you've been pretty consistent behind the cleanup batter, behind Franklin. You've been somewhat consistent, but the top of the order was, I mean, obviously your strength. Franklin was a phenomenal cleanup hitter. I don't know if I wonder if it didn't start with Nebraska, if I'm being completely honest, because Nebraska was where, to me, it felt like it started. And I remember saying here, it feels like they've done their homework. Maybe they figured out how to pitch to Franklin. They figured out how to pitch to the cleanup in their batting order. And I don't know, in NC State, maybe these guys were texting each other back and forth. I don't know. But I really felt like since the matchup with Nebraska, he has just fallen so far. He was just terrible. If he was anything near what he was throughout the SEC tournament, through all of the entire season, the entire regular season, you'd feel a hell of a lot better. I think you probably are headed to Omaha if that's the case. And these are slim margin losses, right? These aren't like you didn't get blown out. This wasn't anything like what happened to them game 1. Was there too much pressure on Arkansas? That's a good question, Scott. That it could be said. Maybe that's why you've only had 14 1 seeds make it to Omaha and only one ever win it, and that was Miami in '99. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe there's too much pressure. I don't know. Trash against lefties. Yeah. Franklin's and Slavin's swing out of their shoes on every pitch, and I thought the same thing. Again, Slavin's is kind of understandable as to why he struggled, but oh my God, since coming back from his injury, I don't know. Kelly is all over Lane. Poor Lane. If only you'd come out with a better burn. Look, man, we get it. Your IQ's probably single digits. We get it, man. You know, you just don't have anything else in your arsenal. It's all right. We haven't hit lefties well either against Nebraska or NC State. Again, if you guys are just joining, we're drinking Fayetteville's River Water Lager tonight, so shout out to them. I was drinking the Arkansas, what's that beer called? The Arkansas or the Razorback Red. And I actually had someone comment on that video who had something to do with getting that beer supported by the University of Arkansas. I thought that was really cool. So we have a little bit of reach here. So, hey, if you guys have any reach with Fayetteville or Ozark Beer Company, tell them Ty thought their beer was pretty good. This is definitely a great Buffalo River canoeing down the Buffalo. This is a good beer. Good lager to have with you. Not going to lie, I thought it was over after game 1, says Julian. Yeah, I did too. I wasn't so sure that – I really did think NC State had no business being in this series, and they proved us wrong. Franklin did have strep, but his struggles at the plate were before the strep. Core Brewing Company, make Razorback Red. Okay, so one of them reached out and commented on a video or hit me up somehow. I thought that was really cool. But he appreciated me giving them a shout-out. So I'm giving Fayetteville a shout-out. I got it at Walmart, so you don't have to, you just go to Walmart, pick it up. It's good stuff. Should we have played some small ball? Okay, I'm glad you brought that up because I was kind of thinking the same thing. Opitz had that bunt early on, and you could tell NC State had done their homework, as any team would who's playing in the Supers. Right? Any team playing in postseason ball worth their salt, they had done their homework. And what they realized was Arkansas, even though they're capable of playing some really good small ball, they're capable, and I've thought it most of the year that every bunt that I have seen them lay down has been terrific. They just didn't rely on it, just like stealing bases this year. They didn't steal a lot of bases. And I thought they probably could have, but Dave Van Horn relied so much on the long ball this year, on home runs and guys getting on base, that it just wasn't. Well, I guess it just wasn't a part of their makeup this year. I thought tonight, especially going into the 5th inning, I thought, all right, we've already seen Opitz lay down a beautiful bunt. NC State didn't know how to react to it, or at least they were delayed on reacting to it. At least let's get into this trend for a little bit where we start playing a little bit more small ball, where maybe you try to lay down some more bunts, where you try to advance bases in whatever way you could find, because it seemed like tonight they just were swinging away. And that's what they've done all year. It's like it's back to business. That's what we do. We're not going to change what doesn't need to be changed. You don't fix what doesn't need to be fixed. Maybe that's what was going on. I don't know. I was kind of hoping we were going to see more of that, and it just never happened. That was it. That was the only bunt attempt of the night. And it was a beautiful bunt. Why not go back to that? Evan Justice is such a strong closer for the Wolfpack, too. Tons of movement with his pitches and commanding presence. Great point, too, about being paired up with Huskers in the first round. Too much. Wonder who put together the regional formats. Yeah, the regional formats, I think, were pretty bad this year. Seeing Cops crying in the dugout should have killed all Hog fans. It did. It was tough. That was really tough to see. A part of me, I mean, it's good that they caught that moment, but at the same time, if that were me, I don't know if I'd want that moment to be caught on television. But it was still cool for the fans to see this kid left it all out on the field. Who's the best baseball player? I'm not going to answer your question if you're going to spam in chat. Not answering your question. Freshman who pitched 4 innings, 2 hits, 1 run, 4 Ks, 4 walks. I think the 21-2 ranked number 1 pitcher in college baseball thought it would be no problem to beat Little League NC State. Cops, who is a relief pitcher, is our best player. That's why we didn't make it to Omaha. No, okay, I get what you're saying. I think you're right. If you got to Omaha, it was because of Cops. And it's a weird thing because it's true. You didn't get to Omaha because you relied so heavily on a closing pitcher. You relied on him so much so you made him your starting pitcher. And again, I don't put that on Dave Van Horn. I put that on the inconsistencies from the starting pitching. It's hard to put this on Dave Van Horn under those circumstances. If you had someone you felt really good about starting, if you had a more reliable, and look, Arkansas, a lot of teams struggle with a solid day 3 pitcher. Seems like that's been an issue at Arkansas for a while. You know, like finding a consistent day 3 pitcher. And then when you do find a good day 3 pitcher, he gets moved up. Maybe he makes your day 2, and you kind of leave day 3 out in the open. And Dave Van Horn has said that most of the year. Like day 3, we're gonna play it. We're gonna play it by ear. We don't know who our day 3 guy is, and that's again, it is pretty common. But it bits you here because you didn't rely on anybody else to step up out of the bullpen. There was no one else that even came across your mind. I get it. Cops is a Heisman caliber pitcher. He's a Heisman Golden Spikes equivalent, right? You see what I'm doing there? That's what he is. And I get wanting to start him, and that's why it is hard to challenge that. But at the same time, it's a double-edged sword because if he fell early, imagine had he given up like what happened in the middle of the third inning yesterday, whatever it was, when you give up a couple of homers in one inning. Imagine the jam you're in at that point, and then you look back at how well Cops actually pitched, and he got better as he went on. Seemed like, especially after like 50 pitches, he just got better and better. But especially on no rest, that was incredible. His performance was incredible when you consider, again, the circumstances. But you put everything on Cops, and I don't know that it was the wrong move, again, because of what their bullpen, just how inconsistent they've been. There was a pitcher that was out today, too. Who was that? There was another pitcher that was out. Now, Vermillion was expected to come back this series. We obviously didn't see him. I don't know if if they didn't play him yesterday, or especially game 1, I don't know that you would have even seen him in Omaha. But Verm has been out. The other kid with the weird last name begins with a P. I'm so tired. What's that kid's name? Pallett. He's been out for a while. And there's another one. Was it Bolden? There was another pitcher that was out tonight. So I just think they were left. They just had no option. Our bats and home run hitting and Cops pitching got us being number 1. Okay, well, now there's a difference. You JD, you're not entirely wrong, but you're a pretty average overall hitting team. You're not a great hitting team. There's a difference. You're a great home run hitting team, right? You're a great on base percentage team. I don't know what their slugger percentage is, but as far as your hitting, you've been average all year. You really have. Where was Connor Nolan tonight, Monk or Vermillion? Yeah, Vermillion. I think not seeing him Friday night was pretty obvious that they weren't gonna. That he wasn't going to pitch. And I think if he wasn't going to pitch game one, he wasn't going to pitch, especially after the blowout in game one. He wasn't even going to pitch Omaha. Because why not? Why not get him out there when you got this massive lead? Change a pitcher every inning. You didn't see him. You didn't see him at all. But he was available. He was available, but I don't know why they didn't pitch him. And it tells me you wouldn't have seen him in Omaha. Do you think State's going to go far in Omaha? I don't. Because they're going to face teams that actually hit better than Arkansas. Again, Arkansas's 9th in the SEC in hitting. They're going to face more established day 1, day 2 pitchers. They're going to face, and again, I get it, Omaha setup is a little bit different. You got a little bit different gaps in time and when you play and what have you. And their bullpen, although if they pitch anything like they did in game 2 and game 3, God only knows how far they go. Their hitting wasn't, let's call it like it is. Like their hitting was overall nowhere near what they're used to, especially during the regular season. Dave Van Horn said he was going to close one, but he didn't need him, saved him. No idea why we didn't see him. I don't think I don't think he would have pitched in Omaha because you're going to face tougher scenarios in Omaha, closer matchups. I don't think you risk putting Vermillion with all that rust on Vermillion's on his arm. I don't think there's a chance in hell you would have seen him in Omaha. I don't. Kevin is still out there taking pics with kids and signing autographs. He's a legend, man. Tennessee would be my pick right now to win the College World Series. It is. I hate to say that. It makes me sick. Makes me sick to say that. But I think right now, Tennessee, to me, is going to be a really tough out. They just kind of have it all. Doesn't that suck? Oh, my God. If they win, I might just stream to just vomit on stream and then close the stream. I don't know. You're a nobody in college baseball, and 3 years after this, I don't even want to say his name. I'm so mad at the way he handled his series against Arkansas. The Tennessee coach. So mad. So mad. You beat these guys 3 out of 4 matchups. I think clearly the better team, only to watch them win the College World Series, especially after the back and forth feud on Twitter. It's going to be brutal if they win. Now, last I saw Notre Dame, they're in game 2, right? Tonight, was that their game 2? DBU says Richard. Vandy going all the way. And Vandy also I think their hitting is, I don't know. I don't know much really about their hitting. Their pitching is obviously great, but I don't know what they offer beyond that. They did beat Tennessee. But I think Tennessee right now is, they played for it all. They played in the SEC tournament. And they were the toughest series Arkansas played all year. I was very impressed with Tennessee, even though I hate that school. Stanford is one to watch. I do agree. Now, Stanford, they're one of those OG programs. They're a program that, they're pretty well established. They've just kind of been out of the picture for a while. If football is said to be a game of inches, what would you say? About baseball? I don't quite understand the question. Tennessee can don't make it happen by talking about it. Well, you want my take. People are talking about it in chat. I'm going to talk about it. And that's who I think probably wins it all. I would put my money right now on Tennessee. Now, their inexperience in postseason play, right? Their inexperience in the big scene in Omaha might catch up. I don't know. predicting the College World Series is almost impossible. It always surprises you. Well, okay, you're probably right, but I mean that's what I would pick. If you're asking me to pick, I would take Tennessee. Hey, what a year for our program in all three big sports. Yeah. I don't know. Not making Omaha. It's a great year. You can't take away what they did during the regular season. It was historic. 50 wins, all that stuff, everything they accomplished. I mean, it was incredible, but I don't know. I don't know, man. It's just disappointing the way it ended, right? I wouldn't put a dime on Tenor. Okay. I would. I'd put down money right now on Tennessee. Maybe I'm wrong, but again, College World Series is very difficult to predict. Texas has been really good. Texas has played really good ball. Man, I really hate Tennessee. Me and you both. Still salty about what the drop pop up in 19. Yeah. 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 We're going to melt when Tennessee wins one before us. Oh, it's – yeah. Yeah, I agree. And the other thing, too, is they're probably going to – are they working on expanding their stadium? Because it only sits like 4,000. Like, they haven't done – I don't think they've made any renovations. I don't know how old that stadium is. But they're going to expand. What's going on over there is incredible. Now, I do think someone eventually is going to come pluck that head coach up because Tennessee is not – they're not known for baseball. Now, I don't know. Maybe things have changed in Tennessee. Maybe now they're going to take baseball serious. I mean, fan support is what drives baseball, period. Well, I mean, it's what drives all sports. But you look at Dave Van Horn's tenure, and you look at the last 10 years, especially the last 10 years, all the renovations, all the changes they've made to bomb, and there's no doubt social media has had an impact, right? And the fans, it gives you a voice, right? I mean, hell, YouTube gives us a voice. I had someone tell me, without giving away names, that there have been people within the university that have caught some of my content. Someone said, you might want to watch what you say, and I said, no, I don't think so. But it is interesting that they hear us on YouTube. They hear us on Twitter. They hear us on Facebook, right? They hear you on Instagram, wherever. They read the comments. And there's no doubt that the fans push the sports. Fans push, programs in a direction. There's no doubt they have an impact. So maybe that's changed in Tennessee. It's very clear that, their fans are showing up to their games. They really are. So maybe it's changed. Maybe Tennessee now is a legitimate baseball program. I still have a hard time. I don't want to say his name. You know who. The coach at Tennessee. I have a hard time seeing him stay there very long, though. Their dedication is to football there, and it is everywhere in the SEC. But Arkansas has been very, very big on baseball, whether it was Frank Broyles to Jeff Long, to Hunter Yurachek. It's very clear, and it has been since they built Baum Stadium right down the road from where I grew up, over on Custer, literally right past right field. That's where I lived growing up as a kid, over there in south part of Fayetteville. But since then, there's no doubt that fans show up to the games, which is what really matters. It's not just what people say on Twitter, right? It's showing up to the games. And they'll expand. And it was Jeff Long and Dave Van Horn that had that talk about expanding Baum and how he thought they were going to, they show up, fans show up. But there's no doubt, too, that social media influences what these guys do. And everything's driven by the fans. And that's why I think, too, the SEC has only gotten tougher since the dawn of social media. And college baseball also, I think, has been on the biggest stage it's ever been on in its entire history. I don't think college baseball has ever been as popular as it is now. That doesn't mean that it carries well on ESPN compared to the NBA, Major League Baseball, the NFL. Obviously not, but it's grown. It's seen unbelievable growth, I think, over the last several years. And it's cool to see Arkansas, since that growth has really been at the top, right? They've been near the top. They're one of the top programs. I mean, you had what was on the line today was 3 straight Omaha appearances, 3 straight College World Series appearances. And in that time span, who knows what would have happened during 2020. I think, they ended on a win streak. I think they were going to get things turned around. Who knows what could have happened that year, especially with that batting order, that lineup you had. You felt really good. I think you felt pretty good about your bullpen and your starting pitching going back to 2020. But yeah, it's cool to see that Arkansas is on the cusp of something really great. I don't think Dave Van Horn retires. I mean, I hope not. I say that. I really hope that he doesn't. But it's crazy to have the kind of year that you had and all the publicity that Arkansas got. I mean, that's something else to look at. You were number 1 for like 80% of the season, unanimously number 1 in the country. D1 baseball was kind of dragging their balls. They finally, I think they were the last of the major ranker, the people that rank you. They were the last, but regardless, you were unanimously number 1. I would argue, I'm willing to bet that their ratings this year in college baseball were the highest probably that they've seen in a while, if not the most ever. It also has a lot to do with the coverage that you have too, thanks to SEC Network and all the conference networks. But they're airing these games and they're getting more and more publicity. I think too, college baseball, even as a Cardinals fan, especially right now as a Cardinals fan, college baseball is more fun to watch. I'm sitting here telling you I won't watch another game in the College World Series. I'm lying out of my ass. I will probably watch some more college baseball. I'm just pissed off. I think we're starting to come around, though. D1 baseball will always have Florida number 1. Yeah, they had Florida as their number 1, calling them the most talented Florida team that they had seen. So, Tennessee versus Vandy in the College World Series. Everyone glad we lost because we were a scary threat with Cops in our batting lineup. I think a lot of teams, I think now it feels like it's completely wide open. Again, I think Tennessee, but I mean Vanderbilt, who's been there, that would probably be my next bet. Probably Vanderbilt. They've been there. They have the experience. They have the best 1-2 pitchers. I think their bullpen is pretty good. You just don't hear a lot about them because of their starting pitching. Obviously, they're more sound in that area. I mean, you're talking about 2 possible first-round picks. In fact, one of those pitchers might be the first player taken in the draft. To quote Arnold, DVH and the Hawes will be back. Will be back. They were lucky to get by Nebraska. If you're talking about Arkansas, I don't know about that. I thought Arkansas was the better team. Nebraska played really well, though. Vandy are the reigning champs. Give it to them again. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I think Tennessee's coming around at a good time, but Vandy does have the experience. Proves the saying, it's not how you start, but it's how you finish. The Hogs had a great year and truly one of the top 3 teams in the country. I think they were the best team in the country all year. I think they were unanimously the best team in the country all year long. I don't think they're top 3. I think they're number 1. And I said weeks ago, you've got 2 different seasons. You have the regular season and you have postseason ball. And your weaknesses they're going to be your Achilles because these are now teams that are worthy. No one accidentally makes their way into the Super Regionals. Now, there are some easy matchups. I will say that there is an argument there to be made. But NC State, I don't think, is the case. They could have an early exit because I'm telling you, I think their pitching is going to cost them. Now, they pitched really well against Arkansas. So maybe there's a turnaround in their bullpen. I don't know. But if they pitch like they did against Arkansas in games 2 and 3, they may go further. I don't know, but I don't know. I mean, NC State, not exactly. I think they just arrived at a great time. That could be a 2. I don't know. How do you go from 21-2 in the first game, then lose last 2 games in the series? What a disappointing series. It's a disappointing way to it's just disappointing all the way around. I don't really know. NC State was number 1 today. They were number 1 today and yesterday. I don't think they were anywhere in the same ballpark as Arkansas during the regular season because State gave up the first game to save pitchers for games 2 and 3. but they pitched their ace, so you're going to have to explain that one to me. You're going to have to explain that one. I mean, Friday night, that was their Friday night guy. That was their ace, their game one guy, and Arkansas destroyed that kid down the stretch. Down the stretch, we're in the same ball. Well, yeah, in postseason. Yeah, so I maybe you weren't here, Big D. I just said there's two different seasons, right? There's regular season baseball, and then there's postseason baseball. It's okay. You probably just joined chat. That's all right. I hate this tie because now I have nothing to watch till football season. Yeah, I was really hoping this thing would stretch out a little bit longer, but it's not. It's disappointing, and it is what it is, but Florida sucks. So are you telling me that the ACC is comparable to the SEC, Big D? Connor, you're cute. Because they're not. Not in my opinion. What was Arkansas's record? What was their strength of schedule? What was their RPI? Come on. Catch up. Arkansas played in a conference tournament. What happened there? You can't be great every single game. That's the life of college. That's the life of baseball. You're not on every single night. These last two games, they were not. Arkansas just was not themselves. This is all there was to it. Last two nights, they were not themselves. They also started the year out 1-8. NC State was 19-14 in conference play this year. Looking forward to football, Andy Gwynn. So that's what's next. That's what's going to happen next. Remember COVID. So I guess COVID wasn't around here, I guess. I know you're not trolling. Oh, well, Kelly Marie deleted your. I know you're not trolling, but I just don't think you are. I don't think you're right. I think you're wrong. NC State was not in the same ballpark as Arkansas during the regular season. Look what they did in the Texas series early on in the year from day one all the way up till when they rocked NC State, put up football numbers. They just look, man, postseason ball is different. If one pitcher has an off night, it comes crumbling down. That's the nature of baseball. And if you're not on it at the plate, in NC State, I will give them credit. I thought their pitching was on point. I think their pitching did really well. Arkansas is an average hitting team. Like I said earlier, they're an average hitting ball club. Great at hitting homers, great at getting on base, average hitting. And I think NC State had done their homework, and that's what happened. It was a good series for them. Great series for them. They're going to make it to Omaha. I think it's their third appearance ever. Good for them, man. Good luck. I'm going to try and stay off Twitter because I want to be nice, but I have to disagree. I think you're wrong. They were not in the same ballpark as Arkansas during the regular season. Go back, look at the SOS, look at the RPI. Even if you don't put a lot of credit into those, I don't know. Why don't you look at Arkansas going undefeated in the toughest conference in college baseball in one of the toughest years. They set records in postseason and putting teams in postseason play. You're going to have to explain that to me. I don't think you can. Arkansas, clearly the best team in college baseball during the regular season. Came crashing down. NC State, my guess is they studied what Nebraska did a little bit, especially pitching to Franklin. I think you also had some key injuries that Slavin's never, I don't think, ever returned back to his old self after his injury. You lost two pitchers. You had another pitcher out tonight, regardless of whether or not Vermillion was available. And I think he was available. They didn't pitch him, and I don't think you would have seen him the rest of the season. So, really, you were down three pitchers. You were down Slavins for a little bit. It's tough to come back. It's tough to get back into that rotation and come back and be yourself. You could say the same thing about Franklin, but Franklin was also struggling before the strep. So I don't know. You know, Franklin was just in a slump. You know, I still think he's one of the better hitters, and I wish him the best. You know, I'm going to give respect. I'm going to give respect where it's due, and there's no doubt that NC State. I mean, this was a massive game for that program. Their backs were against the walls. They stared down Cops in game 2, even though, Cops didn't lose game 2. They faced him down and still beat Arkansas when they faced Cops, right? So I think that was a massive confidence booster for them. And they rode it all the way through this game, and they pitched great. They really did. But no, during the regular season, you were incorrect. They were not in the same ballpark as Arkansas. And I'll say it again. It's 2 different seasons. Postseason college baseball, or baseball, period, but especially in college baseball. Postseason, regular season. 2 completely different parts of the year. Disappointing loss. SEC champs. Don't forget what this great team has done. Still proud of them. Yeah, absolutely. Just not proud of the way it finished. You guys have my permission to cheer for Vanderbilt now. I don't know if I'm cheering for anyone, man. I think I want them all to lose. Especially because how many of them have you beaten? How many of these teams have you beaten? What was wrong with Matt Goodhart? What's been wrong with Matt Goodhart? When there's someone on base, he's not going to get a hit. If somebody is on base, he's not going to get a hit. You can just chalk it up, man. It's not happening. I can't figure that dude out. I don't know what his deal is. I don't know why you left. I don't know why he remained in the lineup at all. Great defensive player, fine, but that dude, you just knew if there's 2 outs or if there's anybody on, he's going down. He's not getting on base. He's either going to strike out or pop out or whatever. Why do we let Moore hit righty? He's far better as a lefty. Matchups, I guess. I don't know. I'm from Tennessee, hoping Vols lose. Maybe I will root for Vanderbilt. I think I will root because I don't want Tennessee to win this damn thing. Postseason was too much for them. Pressure to win it all was too much for these guys. The entire country expected them to win. Media was giving them the golden ticket. Everyone, a lot of people had favored them to win. Like I said, D1 baseball came around, several weeks into the year, and those guys, Aaron Fitt and those guys, fell in love with Arkansas. And while I don't think they all picked Arkansas to win it all, I think they had commented. I'd listened to a couple of podcasts here and there, people quoting D1 baseball and what have you, saying that, it seems like everyone is on the Razorback bandwagon now, similar to basketball. It's kind of interesting how that, no one really thought Arkansas would make it to even just the Sweet 16. And they go on to the Elite 8, shocking everybody. Sorry, what I was saying, I don't even know if I want to read this. Sorry, what I was saying is COVID contributed to the 1-8 conference start and event threw in the towel in game 1, save our best 2 relievers. Never said they were Arkansas good. Did you not say that earlier? I don't think I confused you with anybody else. I'm pretty sure you did, my man. Never said ACC is SEC level or state is as good as Arkansas. You did say they were in the same stadium, and they weren't. They were not. Franklin was a weak link this series. It affected their entire lineup. He's your cleanup guy. And, I don't know. Maybe he shouldn't have come back. Maybe you should have let him rest until Omaha. I don't know. I'm not saying you take him out of the lineup. Maybe you just – I know he's important, and that's tough to do, but, look how it turned out. Didn't exactly light the world on fire, I don't know. It's hey, hit the like button for everyone that's at this point I'm just rambling. This is the longest post-game show I've done in a while. Hit the like button if you guys haven't already. Subscribe if you haven't already. You know what's great about this is it's not one of those as it gets closer and closer to room temp, it is completely room temp. It doesn't get worse. A lot of loggers do that. This one doesn't. Hard work, honest beer. Not bad. I'd drink it. I'd drink it on the river. I said down the stretch they were. No, they weren't. I'm sorry. You got to talk about who they faced in order to say something like that. ACC's good, but it's not SEC good. Those are facts. Sorry, those are facts. How many teams? How many teams the ACC send to regionals, super regionals? How many are they going to send to the College World Series? They're good. Like I said, they're the second best baseball conference. But I mean, the gap is, dude, it's ridiculous when you just talk about the talent, the coaching pedigree, the teams, the money, the influence in this part of the country. Yeah, ACC doesn't stand a chance. It just is what it is. And doesn't mean they're always going to be the best, but they certainly have been for quite some time. That's just all there is to it, man. I'm going to miss Opitz and Kopp's tie. I am too. I'm going to really miss those two. Opitz is going to be really hard to replace. Best IPA is the Devil's Backbone. I'm going to have to give that a try, Scott. Slavens was trying too hard to hit home runs. And someone mentioned that in chat earlier about how they were swinging away every single time. And maybe those are Dave and Horn instructions. I'm sure they were. But, boy, they just struggled. I'm just glad to see our program doing great in top sports. Well, no, hang on. Let's be real. They're not exactly doing great in football. Okay? Now, when you talk top sports, I assume you mean the big three. Basketball and baseball, they're great. Football, they're building, right? They're building the foundation to hopefully achieve greatness. The football program is still way, way behind. They got a ways to go, and I think Sam Pittman is just the guy to build the foundation, right? I think they're in good shape in terms of taking the right step in the right direction. They still have a ways to go. When you talk about the equivalence to how well they've done in baseball, they're not on the same planet. I mean, that's just the truth. Arkansas they are a team that you expect to make the College World Series, right? Arkansas, you're just hoping they make a bowl game. Now, I think Sammy Pitty, my boy, I think he's going to do pretty well. I shouldn't say he's my boy, but, I like him. I like what he's doing. I like the direction they're going for sure. Lance H. says Pittman is not the guy. Okay, well, football's still under construction. It's still under construction, right? Yeah, Kopp's is he's like 37. Pretty sure he's like, I mean, he's I agree, but Sam Pittman is doing great. He is. No, I agree. I think he's heading in the right direction. I like Sam Pittman. We look at recruiting, much better product on the field last year than what you've had the previous 3 years, for sure. But there's still a ways to go. You got to build that roster from the ground up, and they're on their way. Remember, Nico Davalier, highly rated player. He's gonna announce. When is he announcing? The 26th. I think he's announcing the 26th, and I think he's going to end up being a Hog. You've got currently, last I looked, it was a top 15 recruiting class. Maybe it's dropped back a little bit. Sam Pittman is going in the right direction. I like what he's doing. Get off Arkansas rivals. Who's on? I hear we're supposed to do really well in football. I must be reading the wrong sites. We're supposed to do really well in football? I don't know. I mean, we'll see. DVH doesn't rebuild, he reloads. That is the truth. And that's the difference in where the baseball program is compared to the football program right now. And until, look, I mean, the level at which Dave Van Horn brings in the high caliber talent, it's ridiculous. Now he does have to compete with the minor leagues, right? He's got to compete with these kids going, and that has to be tough on the recruiting trail. And I know he's been burned, but that it is what it is, right? I have absolutely zero confidence in Pittman. Okay. They had a decent start to the season, but finished terribly. I think the reason, and I don't disagree, I think the reason why that happened is, first off, you didn't have spring camp. You didn't have business as usual off season, and you're rebuilding from the ground up. You're installing a new offense, a new defense. You're trying to create a whole new identity. You were unable to develop the back end of your roster because you didn't have spring camp. He beat both the Mississippi schools that had new coaching staffs as well, new identities and what have you, et cetera, et cetera. I thought Arkansas was better than Mississippi State. I think they were a little bit better than Ole Miss last year. I think Ole Miss could take a pretty big leap in 2021. We'll see where Arkansas is at in comparison. I think Ole Miss might be a little bit further ahead. But you saw, I think eventually what happened, injuries caught up. You had the LSU game where you lost. I mean, how many starting or rotating defensive linemen played in that game? Jonathan Marshall was your only starter in that game. And you ended up losing a close game to LSU. In a game I think you should have won. We can argue about what happened with Auburn. We can with the bonehead mistake by SEC officiating, but that's just normal for Arkansas and the SEC. You know, you could talk about what happened with the fumble in LSU. You could talk about getting cheated on some of these calls. But I think what happened is they were unable to develop and to really coach the back end of their defense. Well, you know, the depth, right? Not the back end like your secondary, but your depth. They were unable to get those guys developed. And as the year went on, wear and tear started to build. Bumper Pool was playing with some injuries. Morgan was hurt. You had guys in your secondary that were playing banged up. Slusher ended up getting some time early, and then he got hurt, so you lost him as a backup. The wear and tear of the season ended up catching up to the Razorbacks. And, yeah, I will agree. I thought there was some bonehead play calling on offense in the second half of the season, but then they found themselves on offense in the second half of the season, and then the defense went backwards because of all the injuries, because of COVID in the LSU game. COVID actually ended up affecting you in a couple of games. Turns out sounds like that was the case, but I think what happened was the slow gradual wear and tear of the SEC and injuries. You were unable to develop your second and third string guys, your rotators. You didn't have that opportunity. They were focused on just making sure they had their offense and their defense installed. Right? Those were the issues. Those were the things that caught up to them. This year, you had spring camp. You had a mostly, as far as I know, uninterrupted offseason. I don't think they had anybody out to COVID, as far as I know. Not that they would tell you, but you know, you've got some great talent that we forgot about in this last class on the up and up, right? Coming up through the depth. You've got a great transfer in Crawford from Oklahoma. You lost Mike Woods. I think could have a decent size effect on the offense, but I think they could overcome those. I think you're going to see less, I hope you see less like end-around calls and the goofy trick plays early in the games. At the same time, I don't always when they work, they're genius, right? It's like, oh, that was genius. When they don't work, it's clumsy and stupid. Why would you do that? But I think you're going to see a little bit more self-control from Kendall Briles because he's also aware I don't have an experienced quarterback in Felipe Franks. I've got a young guy, KJ Jefferson. Right? So I think Pittman is the guy for the job. I think Pittman is if you wanted anybody of who was available, don't get me wrong, Lane Kiffin was an attractive name, but I don't have a problem with it being Sam Pittman because he might be exactly what the doctor ordered in order to build that foundation. I think he's the right guy. We thought when they hired Chad, maybe it's Chad, his ability to recruit. We didn't realize, oh, wait a minute. I mean, you know, the guy's a complete jackass. He's lost. There's no communication on the field. There's no communication, period. Coach speak after every single game, after every single practice. You knew something was up. He always seemed like he was in over his head. Sam Pittman, it's different. You feel like he has control of what's going on. And the last guy to do that at Arkansas was pretty decent. Brett Bielema, a couple of years, I thought he had things under control, but then he just let go of the rope. He just completely let go of the rope. Those last couple of years recruiting, I don't know that you avoid what ended up happening outside of just not hiring Chad Morris. Chad Morris was not the guy to hire at that time, obviously. It's easy to say that now. I get it. No, I think Pittman is the guy for now. I don't know 5, 6, 7 years from now. I don't know. But he is the guy to build the foundation to a lovely home. Hopefully that's what happens. I don't know. He had no spring. Hold your opinions until he's had one. Well, he did. He's talking about Pittman? He had a spring practice this last camp. They just got done with spring. Stop making our name look bad. This is Lance. Oh, no. What is Lance saying in chat? Oh, goodness. I already read that. I have zero confidence. Blah, 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 blah. Winning the first game 21-2 was a curse. It kept those lefties with NC State fresh for game 2. I mean, you could look at it like that. I mean, that is – I agree. They didn't have to pitch anybody because the game was already out of hand. But you still – I mean, that was some of the worst hitting I have seen from Arkansas all year long. I mean, swinging away at like just some of these pitches, I don't know. And they're both their guys that came in and pitched relief were throwing high mid-90s. From a Pac fan, Cops is legit. Y'all were monsters. Love my Pac-9. They never give up. Go Pac. They pitched really well, and they never gave up. You got to give them credit. You got embarrassed. It was clearly Arkansas. This is why they're favored to win it all, game 1, and then game 2 and 3. I don't know what happened. Yeah, Justin. Good luck to you guys. I mean, I hate to say it, and I'm not trying to be a bad fan. I don't know that I would cheer for you guys because you did beat Arkansas. I hate the SEC too. Who do I hate more, the SEC or the team that just knocked us out for an opportunity to play in Omaha for a third straight time? I don't know. It tore me apart when Cops went into the dugout in tears. Yeah, that was hard. That was hard, and we're going to end it there. This is the longest post-game show I have ever done. We just kind of rambled, drank beer, and rambled tonight. Is Mississippi State football going to be legit next year? Was it an ESPN Football Power Index that put them at like 6.5 wins or 7 wins? It's something crazy like that. They had them too last year. I think Mississippi State ended up actually winning the same amount of games as ESPN predicted, if I remember right. It was like 3 or 4 wins. I have more respect for NCS than Tennessee. That we can agree on, Kelly. Pac fan here, great stadium and fans. Appreciate that, Sam. Thank you, man. I do think if you guys pitch, if NC State plays like they did, especially out of their bullpen, good grief, if they pitch like they did in game 2 and 3, they're going to be tough. I have a hard time seeing them go the distance. I don't know if they have the talent to go toe-to-toe with all these teams. But then again, they went toe-to-toe with a really talented, really good Arkansas baseball team. So let's see. But, College World Series setting is different. Omaha is different. Arizona 5, Ole Miss 1. Arizona with the 2-run homer. All right, that's going to do it. We are in Vandy's side of the bracket, so that's tough. Yeah, that is going to be tough. Vandy's going to be tough. Vandy, and I'm not going to argue with anyone that takes Vandy. I have no argument for that. I just really like the way Tennessee has played. I thought they played us really good. I thought Tennessee was good enough I think they're good enough to go pretty far. I think they're going to be tough to get out. Vandy's going to be tough too, though. Wouldn't shock me if Vandy won. They're experienced. They've been to Omaha. They know what they're doing. It's kind of business as usual over there, right? They just won it. They were the last team to win it, and it wouldn't surprise me at all for them to do it again. But I don't know, man. Tennessee is just really attractive. I mean, they really are. They look really good. But so does Vandy. They've got 2 of the best pitchers in college baseball. So good luck to NC State the rest of the year. If you do end up against Vandy, I'll probably cheer for you. I'll cheer for you against any SEC team. I hate the SEC. I hate it here. My day is ruined. Don't let it ruin your day. Grab a cold beer and get ready for the rest of the week. So what's up next for PTN? Football content is on the way. I've already got scripts written out. I've got videos that I've started that I'm gonna try and get chopped up and finished. What a baseball year. Basketball was great. 2021 honestly was a good year to be a Razorback fan. But football is next. That's going to be the next bit of content here. Razorback football. Congrats to Cops. You did good, son. You did good. Shout out to the PTN, Patreon supporters. There it is. Tyler Edmonson, Anthony White, Timothy Whiseant, George Rector, Randall Hunt, Kelly Marie, John Goodman, Mathew Hestand, Doug Stubbs, Jenna Mayes, Justin Kipper, John Hawes, Mark Dodson, Joe, because it's just Joe, Dustin Ross, Thomas Nunley. Oh, Connor, his comments they keep getting deleted. Is he another smooth brain? What's he? Oh, sorry, Connor. All right, no, we're gonna close out with that screen. That's what we're gonna do. Or maybe we just can I just? Oh no, we don't want that one. How do we do this? Come here. Oh, OBS. OBS, you suck. There we go. There we go. There he is. There's the guy. There he is. Oh, no, I don't want to pull a Joe Biden. What am I doing? I look like I'm sniffing him. Here, I'll just get right here. We'll end on that. Peace. He was great this year, y'all. Tip of the cap. I do. I look like Joe Biden. I'm trying to sniff his neck.